welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bringing you information about your library and your community. And this evening, my guest is Nancy Davis, who has arranged for a wonderful new exhibit at the library called Expressions of Those Who Serve. Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
I know you're busy collecting artwork and getting ready to hang things and all, but tell us a little bit about who you are as far as why you're involved with this, who's sponsoring this show, where did this idea come from? Give us the background.
Okay. My co-chairman is Daryl Ammerman, who is the commander for the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 175 here in this region. I grew up locally, and I'm also a photographer. My daughter is serving at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and that is part of the reason that this whole exhibit came about. I was at the library planning another exhibit for the Illinois Art League, which I'm president of, and Stacy Peace and I talking about artwork and veterans, and I would love to have a gallery with a veterans area. So she offered the opportunity for me, and I said yes. I contacted Daryl, and we started in January, and here we are. Deadline was yesterday. And we have 22, 23 artists, and we're getting close to 50 pieces of artwork.
Wonderful.
I believe our oldest artist is an 81-year-old Korean veteran, and we're very excited. He's entered 3 pieces of artwork, and he's a delightful man. He's not going to be able to attend our ribbon cutting ceremony because of his health.
Oh, okay.
But we're very honored that we can have his artwork as part of our exhibit.
And what sorts of pieces of art are people entering? I mean, are they all depictions of battles they were in? Or are they what sorts of things can people expect to see?
They can expect to see a very wide array of artwork. We're going to have 3D, we're going to have photography, sculptures, metal work, wood pieces. It's a very wide variety, and the theme is varied. It's not all battle-oriented. Some of it is nature, some of it is landscape, but it's not all battle-oriented.
So the unifying theme is that all the artists were veterans and
exactly.
have served somewhere.
That's right. That is our criteria for being in the exhibit, is to be a veteran, and our application fees go to the Homeless Veterans Fund.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
We're very excited about that part of it, and I think that is one of the things that has encouraged artists to participate, knowing that their application fee is going to a good source.
It's going to help
yes.
others. Right.
This is also juried, and we have asked some local sponsors to award an award for our winners. We're going to have first, second, and third place, and a best of show.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So we're very excited.
And when will you decide that?
The judging will be done on November the 1st.
Okay.
And it's a local judge who is very renowned in the art world. So we're very excited.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great when you can get people involved and participating.
Yes.
Yes.
Another thing we're doing with our exhibits, all of the flags representing the different branches of service, plus the Purple Heart flag and the United States flag, is going to hang from the skylight in the library.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
That'll be great.
We're also asking the city of Peoria to block 2 lanes of Monroe so that Patriot riders can park their motorcycles in front of the library.
Oh, wonderful. Is that a specific day? Are they coming to the opening for that?
Yes, to the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Okay,
yes.
Wonderful. And when is that? What time?
The ribbon cutting ceremony is Saturday, November the 3rd at 1 p.m.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And then usually when we do those openings, we have light refreshment for everybody. And
yes.
Yeah, that's kind of been fun for the library to do things in a big way and have the art openings and They're always fun. They're always a great way to come because many of the artists will come and you can talk to them and meet them.
Yes, many of the veterans will be there. We have one piece that the Purple Heart organization is partially funding. The piece is 3 feet by 4 feet.
Oh, wow.
And it contains all of the dog tags of the Medal of Honor recipients.
Oh, wow.
So the artist has been asked to reproduce it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what he's decided, but it's really heartwarming when you see this. I've seen the piece. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But when you read that name and you know what that signifies, it's very, very touching.
Wonderful, wonderful. So are all branches of the service, do you think, represented? I mean, are there artists in every branch of the service? Or?
Well, there are artists in every branch. I believe right now we have 4 branches represented. I know for sure the Army, Navy, Marines, and the Air Force. That is a definite. Right. I don't know about the Coast Guard yet. I'm not sure. Maybe.
And if not, those members of the Coast Guard can certainly enjoy seeing what others have done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is going to be rather unique for the library, but one of the great things about Peoria Public Library's gallery is that it does offer a space to do unique things like this that aren't particularly available. Since we're not commercial, we don't have to make any money. We can offer our exhibit space, and of course we're open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it's right next to the local history and genealogy department, which means so many people who are already interested in history are coming down and sitting in there working on genealogy or local history or whatever, and they're able to look out into the gallery and see this beautiful, beautiful artwork, which of course wraps around an L shape for anybody who's not been there yet. And it's always free. There's never a charge. And then there's a gallery walk later in the month. Do you remember the day of that? I should know that,
no,
too.
No, I do not.
There's the gallery walk on Wednesday, November 14th at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And Stacy Peterson usually, unless one of the artists or you take people, and they just meet in the gallery at 2, and they get a guided tour. So it's a second chance to just not see it on your own, but actually have a guided tour and talk about the pieces with others. And then they actually do go downstairs as well and see what's ever in the Walker case. And I'm not actually sure what's there in November, but something wonderful will be, and then they can end their tour at the Friends of the Library bookstore, which is a great thing. But yeah, so there's several opportunities. And of course, anybody who wants to bring a group and have a guided tour can do that anytime by calling our programming department, and they will work with groups. A lot of times we have schools that send a class of kids to look at it, or we have different art groups that come, or senior groups, or ladies who lunch groups. You know, so this is something people should be aware of, that if you can't make it to the ribbon cutting and our little opening, or you can't make the gallery walk, well, you know, the library's there to. We want to give you information, so we'll do that. You can bring your group and get a tour.
Speaking of our ribbon cutting, Colonel Fritz, who is the head of the Bob Michael VA Center here in Peoria, gave us permission to do this Veterans Fine Art exhibit. We're hoping that he will be in Peoria that weekend and be able to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
That would be very nice. Have you got any other information about any of the artists or pieces? Like, you've got 2 lovely pieces sitting here.
Yes, these pieces are from the 81-year-old Korean War veteran.
Okay.
And a lot of his work depicts Korea and Japan while he served. We have a pretty wide range of ages also with our veterans. We have some younger veterans that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And this gentleman who served in Korea. And we have several Vietnam veterans. So we have a good representation.
Are any of your artists working full-time as artists and they just happen to have served, or is it more that these are veterans who do other things and then are artists for fun or
we
therapy?
have one artist that is working, well, I take that back. We have 2 artists that are working full-time as artists, and they are local. The one artist that has done the Medal of Honor flag with it out of dog tags, he also has work in a gallery in Chicago, and has just received a commission.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
well,
is.
we have such a vital art scene here in Peoria, and of course, the past month, October, was Arts and Humanities Month, and we heard a lot about that, and there's such a wide variety of people working in the arts, and I think people are surprised when they find out people from Peoria actually have work in other places in other cities. And maybe Preston Jackson might have started some of the awareness of that coming back from Chicago and having a gallery here as well as in the big city. And I know he sells a lot on the East Coast, as do some of our other local artists. They have big markets on the East Coast.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Will any of the artwork be for sale, do you know?
Yes. Much of the artwork will be for sale.
Okay.
Yes.
And usually what we do at the library is we let people kind of take those artists individually. We don't handle the sales for them.
Right.
This is when, if our rule has always been, with people will come in and say, oh, can I buy that piece? I see something hanging in the gallery. And we generally can't do business in the library, so unless if we're handling it, then of course it becomes a fundraiser for the library, which is fine. We give, we just ask for a portion of the proceeds. But that's what all of our authors do too. We often have author programs, and they are often done as fundraisers for the Friends of the Library, which of course the Friends of the Library do so much to promote all of our programs and things. And maybe I could take this opportunity while we're talking about programs to talk about two of the other things that are going on with veterans, which is a great chance to see the art show and do something else. Although this first program is actually at North Branch, and it's on Sunday, November 18th at 1 p.m. Dr. Richard McDonald is the author of Inside the Gates. And his father was a physician and was participating. His father was Lieutenant Colonel Hugh McDonald, M.D., and he was actually there when they liberated the Nazi concentration camp in Ebensee, Austria. And they're just not recognized in history. You don't hear about his father's medical unit, although he heard his father's story, and he spent 2 years doing research at the Holocaust Museum and all these other places, and was able to write this book, Inside the Gates, and sort of, lay out and reclaim this history of his father and his father's unit, and kind of, so if somebody wants to know about them, now we've got the information and are able to hear about it. And Dr. McDonald will be on this show in a couple weeks, so people can hear the story for themselves. But this is another example of a local person who, is using their talents to bring us information we didn't have before.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, November 10th and 17th at 2 p.m. at Main Library Auditorium, which is the perfect time to see the art gallery, either before or after you see these documentaries. But there's an organization called Living Battlefield, The American Road to Victory, and they actually have made new documentaries with someone who's a very famous battlefield tour guide over in Europe, and they actually take people through what happened on those battlefields, on the real battlefield, kind of blow by blow. You might be familiar with that kind of thing. They've done it at places like Gettysburg for years, where you show the lines and what happened where. But the first day, there's 2 of those, the Americans on D-Day and then the Americans on Hell's Highway. And I was wondering yesterday what Hell's Highway was. I'm not familiar with that one. I'm sure there's military buffs who know exactly what that is, but I feel like I know a lot about World War II, but that one's different to me. But these are all new documentaries that should bring new information and understanding to what happened to our troops in those situations in Europe during World War II. And then on November 17th, they can watch The Americans in the Bulge. And I think it's interesting that this organization, Living Battlefield, is a not-for-profit corporation that's dedicated to providing quality historical programming. So, you know, you get away from the John Wayne movies and get the truth. And I think that's what all forms of art do for us, whether it's film or whether it's these paintings or 3D. And, you know, this man's telling us the truth about, you know, what he saw in Korea, what his life was like when he served, and, you know, with some artistic expression too. Are any of the works abstract, or are they all fairly realistic?
Most of them are realistic. There are a few abstract pieces.
A few, yeah. If somebody's just tuned in, we should let them know that this exhibit runs from November 1st through 30th.
Yes.
And it's open every day. The main library is open, so not on Thanksgiving or the day after. Those are the days we're closed, but otherwise Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and it's all free, and you can just come in and see it. Now, tell me, do people who have served and maybe have some trauma, do they use art as therapy?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, the Danville VA Center has an art therapy program, and the patients that are in current treatment do artwork. I ask them to participate, and they have a yearly art show.
Oh.
And one of the veterans has a current exhibit going on in Danville that was sponsored by a local business, and I think that is just wonderful.
That is.
He thought about participating, but decided not to.
Okay.
So, but we're very happy about this.
Yeah.
That's I've
great.
already been asked about making this a traveling exhibit.
Wonderful.
And having the show next year and what we will do for it next year.
Oh.
And my comment was, we have to have this year
Yeah.
first, and
let's get this
success.
year and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
But perhaps when people see this, I know there's more veterans out there that have artwork or photography or whatever.
And our whole thought process with this was, if this helps one veteran to heal, we've accomplished a goal. For that person, male or female, to share their work and, you know, share that with others, that can help them.
Yeah, especially, you know, art is such a personal thing.
It is.
It comes from deep inside, and
yeah, it does.
And to have someone look at your work and understand something about your world or your life, or to understand something about themselves, too, is very different.
When I've at two different pieces that I've received, I've been told stories. And when I saw the artwork, I didn't understand the story that went with it. And after I was told the story, my heart went out to that veteran.
Yeah.
You know, and each one of them has a story.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In fact, this 81-year-old veteran wrote a story on his application. Another thing that we're going to do for our exhibit, we're going to have place cards to tell the veteran's rank and his name and what his particular job duties were while he was serving in the military. Because we think that will be interesting for anyone that views the exhibit.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure people are be very interested to know something about the artist. I always found, even when I used to do picture person and go into the grade schools with second graders, you could ask them, do you like this painting? And they'd all say no. And then you'd tell them about the artist and their life, and you might tell them how they dressed and what music they listened to, and you know what was going on in the world at that time. And then you ask them, do you like this painting? And they'll all say yes. So I'm a great believer that, you know, particularly people who aren't that familiar with art or haven't been exposed to art or how important it is, are really surprised when they find out, this isn't just a thing hanging on the wall. This has a lot of meaning.
Yes.
Meaning, and yeah. So Well, it's going to be a lot of fun having that opening, and it sounds like the gallery's going to be pretty crowded with.
We're very excited.
Yeah.
We have a couple of pieces that are going to be larger pieces, probably something like Preston Jackson has had on exhibit. One is a metal sculpture, and you may have seen these. It's a metal sculpture with a soldier kneeling, and he has his rifle. That's one of the pieces. In fact, it has been given to the Purple Heart organization to use at events. It has been donated by a veteran from Pekin, Illinois. So we're very excited to see it. I've seen one, but it's wonderful. And then another piece of work is the sandbag that has the boots and the helmet and the rifle representing a fallen soldier. We're going to have one of those on display also.
Well, that'll be nice. That'll bring a lot of meaning. And of course, I should point out too that the library is not closed on Veterans Day. So if you're, at the parade, or you're just downtown, or you're at, any kind of ceremony, that's a perfect time to drop in afterwards to the gallery and see the artwork. It's a perfect accompaniment for your day, and maybe a chance to get the kids into the library to see.
We've also been given some documents from World War II that we will be able to have on display that belongs to one of the artists in the exhibit.
Oh, okay.
So we thought that would be an interesting piece to add.
Yeah, it will be. We used to, a few years ago, have the China, India, Burma Veterans Group locally did a display several times, and unfortunately, due to their age and loss of members, as there's very few World War II veterans left.
That's true.
Their group disbanded, but they actually donated their chapter flag to the library. So we used that in our board meetings.
That's very nice.
But at that time, they were bringing things, photographs, as well as things like captured flags and pieces of equipment they'd had from World War II. And we have any other artifacts on display in the past? Sometimes we've shown uniforms or that type of thing.
We are going to try to have a couple of uniforms. We do have some other artifacts that we will have on display.
Okay. Do you know what the uniforms are, like from which time periods? Or
we have a Navy uniform. We have
from what time period?
It would be the 70s.
Okay.
We have an Army uniform from the 70s that will be on display. Possibly hats from each branch of service. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's a maybe.
Some of those things come together at the last minute.
They do, because that is such a personal thing for the veteran. So I'm not sure that they really want to allow them to be in a glass case.
Yeah, but we should point out that things are under a camera and securely locked up. And I think sometimes people think about, because of course our exhibit space, this show may be giving somebody else an idea about doing an exhibit at the library.
I hope so.
I hope it is too, because it's a wonderful space, and it's one of the
beautiful.
few places where people who've never exhibited before can come and exhibit things if they can. We've talked to families about, everybody in the family's an artist, have the whole family display, but we haven't had any takers on that yet. But we should point out that in our new facilities, everything's well lit, security lights, security cameras, security guards, and so right up there with any museum or place, things are safe. So we've had some lovely exhibits with some real treasures, so far. When we had our one about the Jewish songwriters, we had some lovely family heirlooms in our glass cases that went with things. So it adds a lot to seeing the paintings and the artwork, to see those actual physical objects that belong to someone. Yeah. So as we're getting closer to the end of this show here, I want to go back, if somebody tuned in late and missed what's going on, and tell everybody again that this is Expressions of Those Who've Served artwork, exhibit at Peoria Public Library Main Gallery downtown, open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, and it's all free. And your group is, you just kind of had people come together to do this, right? You don't have an official veterans artist group.
No, we do not. That would be nice to do.
Yeah.
that may come about. No, it didn't. It was just through an interest and respect for the veterans. My daughter is serving at Fort Knox, and I contacted Colonel Fritz and asked for permission to hold a Veterans Fine Art exhibit, and that started the process. And Daryl Ammerman is my co-chairman, and he's the commander for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. All of the application fees are going to the Homeless Veterans Fund.
That'll be great.
And yes, it will be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, if people are just there visiting, do they have an opportunity or way to donate? Do we have information about how people can donate?
Yes, we're going to provide that, and hopefully people will find it in their hearts to donate to the Purple Heart group.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nancy, for taking time to come and talk, and we're really looking forward to seeing this.
Thank you very much.
There's so much going on at Peoria Public Library, and in November we're honoring our veterans with the art exhibit showing of documentaries as well as our author, Dr. McDonald. So you can find details, if you missed them, on the Peoria Public Library web calendar or our newsletter passages. There's a lot of events for kids, as always, story times for all ages, everything from pajama story time to Thanksgiving puppet shows, and those are all in kid events, or you can ask at any library desk. If somehow you still haven't gotten a library card, remember all it takes is your photo ID and an accurate mailing address, and you can be using the library for free. We'll see you next week on Information Please.